Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the how-to to the bullet haircut, a mashup between a graduated bob and a mullet. If you're new, click the subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and give us a comment down below and let me know what you think about the haircut. So here I've just used the high point of the head to determine where I'm going to section from. I've just put in a middle parting, just to keep it nice and even on both sides for weight distribution. I'm then going to use the high point of the head again and come to just behind the back of the ear, combing that out, nice and clean section. Again, copying it on the other side, high point of the head to just behind the ear, combing it nice and neat, nice and clean sections, clipping out the way. Now we're going to work on the back, coming from the high point of the head to the bottom of the nape, just a nice middle section, keeping both sides nice and even for weight distribution. And then finally its occipital bone, I'm drawing a diagonal line to just the middle of the ear. I'm then going to mimic this on the other side, finding the occipital bone, and then just drawing my section to the middle of the ear using my other finger as a point of reference. So just going to clip those bits underneath out of the way because that's going to be our mullet part of the haircut. We're then going to find the parietal ridge, and that's where the head starts to curve. I'm using the comb to determine where that starts to curve. We're going to draw a line to a reference point of between the crown and the occipital bone to create a nice triangle section on the top of the head. I'm just going to twist it and bump it out of the way using a clip to keep it nice and neat. We're then going to move into our first section. So it's a tiny little section, but a really nice section for a guide. So we're going to find out where it's going to fall. So I want it to fall just about the occipital bone. And I'll be using a moving guide. So I'm going to be pulling all the hair out from the head, and I'm not going to be over directing into the middle. So you can see I'm just pulling straight up from the head using my previous cut section as my guide, and then following through. So this is basically just putting a graduated bob right in the middle of a longer haircut. The reason I did this, I wanted to express my creativity. I wanted to try something a little bit different and push the boundaries. Again, you can see from this angle, I'm just pulling the hair straight back out from the head, not over directing to the middle, pulling it straight back and then cutting in my line. Once this section's cut, you'll start to see a graduated bob shape appear. We're then just going to copy that on this side, so using that middle section as our guide, pulling the hair straight out and cutting in our graduated line. So you can see here we're just cutting in our graduated line. Finger angle is on diagonal, anything between 35 degrees and 45 degrees to give you this sort of look. Tension is key. You can see my sections are all really nice and tight. If there's any bagging, you'll have a little bit of an uneven finish to your haircut. How I like to keep my tension is using the finer tooth side of the comb. Again, you can see just mimicking the other side, pulling straight back, using my previous section as a guide, which is known as a moving guide. Checking for balance and length, combing through just to check, pull out the clips so you can start to see it blend into that length below. We're now going to move on to the top triangle section, taking a straight horizontal section through the middle, combing the rest into our previous cut sections and following the pattern all the way through. So we're going to draw a middle section and we're going to use the previous cut section from underneath as our guide. Same finger angle, and then just pulling straight back, cutting in the graduated shape. You can see I comb these sections quite a few times. That's just so I'm maintaining the balance and the tension for each of my cut sections. I would rather comb twice and cut once. I have to keep going over and over my sections to try and correct it. You can really see the graduated bob shape into play now. Again, just following it through to the other side, using the underneath sections as your guide, keeping tension as you have throughout, and cutting in your section. Going to bring in the last of the top of the triangle section and follow through all again. Using the underneath sections and cut pieces as your guide. We're using the same finger angle, same amount of tension, and we'll be following it through to create the graduated shape. If you're enjoying this haircut, guys, and we're doing a lot more of these, so make sure you hit the subscribe button, click the little bell, because that will notify you of all my videos that go live, and comment below, let me know what haircuts you would like me to mash up next time. So I'm just going to follow again on the other side, as we have throughout, creating that graduated bob shape. What I'm doing on this top section though is I'm just leaving it a little bit longer just to create a bit of a shelf when we dry. So you'll see what I mean when we dry it. There's a real heavy top section to this. And the reason I've done that is because it gives me a little bit more hair to play with when refining. If I'd have cut it all off, we wouldn't have had as much hair to really sort of melt together with the longer lengths. So just keep that in mind when cutting this haircut. That's the back section done. We're going to pull out the sides and we're going to start wrap drying the haircut. I love to use Smooth Shock. So Smooth Shock is a oil-based foam, and I'll just work it through the hair. I'll wrap dry. Getting the hair sitting in its natural fall is key to this haircut, and to most haircuts, to be honest. I'm just using a round brush now just to smooth out those ends, create a little bit of bend on the graduated shape. And then when I come to straightening, I'll just be replicating what I'm doing with this. So I'm just trying to create that little bit of bend and a little bit of polish. So all my tools that I'm using, I will link down in the description below. Now it's the refining section. This is probably one of my favourite parts of any haircut. So you can see there's quite a heavy shelf on that top piece, the graduated bob there, and that is intentional. I left it there so we had something to refine and something to play with. But you can see the underneath section melts in lovely. This top bit's just sitting a little bit heavy. So all I'm doing is deep point cutting through that top section just to melt it together. And I'll be using an array of different techniques in melting this haircut together. So now I'm just pulling up my sections as I cut them when they were wet. And I'm just going to deep point cut into them just to take away a little bit of bulk. You can see it's sitting quite heavy, but as we go work through the refining process, you'll see it gets softer and softer and softer. And that's with any haircut. So one of the things to think about when cutting hair is, how does your client wear their hair most of the time? Say 90% of the time, how does your client wear their hair? And it's dry. With the amount of cutting we do when it's wet, also think about how much the cutting we do once it's dry, how it's sitting, because that's how the client is going to be walking around as your advert 90% of the time. Again, using a point over comb. This is moving the comb up slightly and slowly, with my scissors working a little bit quicker than the comb. And you can see that it's starting to melt in beautifully. This needs a bit more work, so we're just going to point out some more of that weight. A lot of people, when they seen this haircut, they thought I used a razor. It's all scissor work. You can see that's melting in lovely now. Again, just point cutting out that weight that's sitting there. Take your time when refining, guys, because this is the polishing of the haircut. This is what makes haircuts look really expensive. So you can see on the right hand side it's a little bit softer than the left, so now I'm going to work on the left hand side just to refine out that bulk. Still got a little bit of refining to do on the right hand side, but I'll show you what I do in a bit. But just watch it, watch how it just melts together as we're just removing that bulk and weight. So what I'm doing is I'm just visually looking at the haircut and also visually blending. So there's technically blending and visually blending. So technical blending is what we do when we're wet cutting the hair and we're blending it technically as we would. But a visual blend is where there's a slight disconnection, but it looks as if the hair blends. Again, there's just little pieces that I think need to be refined. Just polishing off this right hand side, nice and slowly. Now we use a slicing method to give us the, as people have been when they've seen the picture, calling it like a jellyfish. The real textured ends, taking away bulk on the ends, but also I'm blending in the length in with the short graduated bob. You'll see me with my scissors just slicing through there, just taking away that bit of bulk at the top, and then slicing through just to take that weight away from the mid-ends and ends. And these are all techniques, different techniques you can use on any haircut, but they work great when blending in graduated bobs or layers. So what I'm doing now is work on the parietal ridge of the length at the front of the haircut, pulling it back, and then just slicing in, so just a bit of layer. You see, so hair below the parietal ridge drops out of my hand. And then I pull back to over direct the hair to maintain the length at the front. And I'm just slicing out a bit of the length just to add a soft layer. See here, just slicing out just a little bit of that length on the front, just give a little bit of texture. Now we work on the length of the mullet, and I'm using a back cutting technique, which is using the butt of my blade and just pushing it into the hair, not closing them, just to take away a bit of length and weight, but to create loads of texture. Now what we're doing is the traditional graduated bob at the front, but I'm point cutting the length away. So I'm pulling back, just taking away the length, point cutting to keep it nice and soft. Before I was working on the parietal ridge, but now working on the full section at the front of the head. Now I'm just freehanding the length in at the front. Now I'm going to use the points of my scissors just to refine that line and really polish it off. So I did exactly the same on the left hand side of the front, just to create two sides of the graduated bob at the front, graduated bob inside of the longer length. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Here's the finished results. This is halfway through to show the graduation. This is it when I back cut it and just gave it loads of texture and see what it looked like on film. This is it where I just brushed it through and the length was still at the front. And then the final result was where I took off that length through there to give it a graduated bob. And then the finished piece was to have the model bent over so you can see the whole haircut. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, comment down below, and I will see you on the next video.